Hello everyone, this is Sachin again. So today what we are going to do is to basically run a very simple, super simple Spring Boot application in your local environment. The idea is not to learn about Spring Boot as such, because there will be like plenty of tutorials you can find and learn more about Spring Boot. But the idea is many a times, at least I personally feel also that to try out something, you need a web application quickly up and running with a at least bare minimum structure of some endpoints to be exposed for basic CRUD, and bare minimum your application should be talking to your local database, so that you can try out your own stuffs further on top of it. And I find like very um, you know it pulls me to try new things when I feel lazy to basically run a web app to try out something on my own. So I just want to keep this as a reference for myself as well, and I hope it will help somebody too. So let's quickly get it started. All the links which we'll be talking about in this session, I'll be putting in the description, so please go and check that out. So let's get started. Again, the idea, I'll repeat once again, it's not Spring Boot as such, but how in almost within a minute or two, you bring up a full-fledged Spring application, so that you can try out your own stuffs. Well, so this is my IDE. I just go to a temporary directory. Usually I go to T5, so there's almost nothing. I'm gonna git clone. All right, so I have this app here, my ID, new model from existing source. So yes, this is already selected. Open, it's a Maven application, yes. Just leave it to default and finish. All right, this has come over here. Quickly see the POM XML. It's a Spring Boot starter web, and it uses data JPA and a Postgres as a database. So yet we don't have a database right now running, but we'll quickly come to that. So let's see the structure of it. So basically, let's start with the application YAML. This is like a standard, straightforward default values running on 8080 port, the app name, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, like, it will connect to a Postgres database in your local host with a username, password, and yep, at the startup, it will use init SQL, which I've included over here. So this SQL, I'm just using employee table. Let's quickly see the other structure. So again, it has a simple one controller, one service, one repository, and a super simple entity. It's an employee entity with a simple ID and name. And repository, basically, it's like extends CRUD repository. So apart from save and find all, I just exposed two more methods, like find all the employees for a given name, or find a particular employee by this ID. All right, this is my entity and repository. Let's go to quickly service layer. I'm just auto wiring my repository layer and exposing more or less the same methods which we have just seen in the repository layer. So to save an employee, finding all the employees, find by ID, just invoke that particular method which we just saw. All right, and find by name, this is also we exposed over here. And this is just to update an employee. You find it, set the name for that employee, and save it eventually. All right, so now finally the controller. Again, this is super simple controller. Idea is not to go more details and how do to do a lot of things in Spring Boot, but how almost in no time you can bring up your Spring Boot application, and then you can try out your own stuffs. Okay, so again, there are some basic CRUD has been exposed over here. For example, just this post on a /root URL, and you pass an employee object, it will save it. We want all employees, the /all endpoint, and if you want to have a particular employee by an ID, just provide /ID and it'll give you that employee. All right. So now we know the structure of it. Let's quickly see the database things. So let's go to README. Everything is done via Docker. So the first command, basically this will, every 4 seconds, this will list down all your Docker containers. I'm gonna hit it here at my first terminal. Right now there's no container running, and you'll see every 4 seconds, this will blink and refresh this page. Now, to get a database, so again, we don't have to install anything once you have a Docker. It should be like a straightforward to um, uh, bring up and running your database. You can actually go to this Git repo, and this link you'll find a detailed video how to run all this infrastructure almost in no time in your local environment. I highly encourage that. You can actually run your Redis, a Postgres or Nginx with certificates, a Kafka or Elasticsearch in a single node or multi-node cluster. This has very detailed information how to run in your local system. So I'm gonna reuse this repository. You don't have to bother about if you don't want to go into details and just want to run your database in your system, just copy paste these commands. For Mac, it works. For Linux or Windows, you probably have to go to these scripts and find out what's written, but this is like following is super simple. So because I have a Mac system, I can just go to some temporary directory, the same one where I have already checked out my web application. I'm gonna execute this command. So what it does, it just clones that repository, go inside to that directory, put a proper execute permission on this run Postgres scripts, and finally runs it. If you're doing it first time, it may take a little time because it may have to download and build that Docker image. But because I've already done it, it will be very quick. I just need to give my password because it edits your host file, and the detailed information you can see actually in this repo in this YouTube video. All right, so I see that my container DB container is run. You'll see it has been running past 14 seconds. Perfect. So let's quickly do a check. I have already included all these commands over here. It's copy paste, and it will take you inside the Postgres, and then the next is you press /D or /L to find the tables. All right, so there is no employee table because I have yet not ran my application. The one thing to remember is I have deliberately given a create a drop, which means every time you run at that time, this table will be created. But once you shut down your application, whatever you have created via this script, it will go off. All right, so let me go to demo app. Yep. So this is a commented out. If you do not want to run as a web application and you want to run it as a standalone, feel free to uncomment this and the override method. I just want to run my web application, so I'm gonna just do it run. Let me run. Continue anyway. All right, great. It is running. Everything is in debug mode. Feel free to edit these variables. I just kept it debug for my testing. All right, took a few seconds and it's my demo app is started. I'm gonna clear off my console so I can see some more stuff which I'm interested in. Okay, so before looking at anything, let's /T once again. And now I see my employee table has come over here. Of course, we will have nothing, but at least the table is created. Perfect. Now we can try all this CRUD operations. That's again super simple. You don't have to worry about. There is a minor script I have included over here. So in your localhost 8080 port, why? Because that's where you're running your application. And there are some methods I have exposed in the shell script. So let's say I want to save an employee with abcd-1 and run this. So it passes his name and it does nothing great, just makes a post call to the base URL. And that's it. So I'm gonna run in that. All right. So this creates one employee. I'm gonna, let's say, oh, sorry. Okay, so I want to run it once again with the employee name as abcd2, and looks like it has run. Let's validate it. So there is a find all employee. You see, remember that slash all endpoint? This is what it calls over here. All right, so let's quickly run that. Now I see these two employees have been created. And let's say I want to change the name of my first employee. I can do that, and I can find that employee by ID1, and I see that latest name has been updated over here. All right. Okay. Now, the final thing, this has tests also included, because sometimes I prefer running my scenarios using test cases. I'm gonna shut it. Okay. I see. Maybe if I shut it down, probably my tables will have gone because of, yes, I was expecting that because of this create drop. Nevertheless, so there is a test case, there's a base test which you wire your Spring Boot test so that it initialize your application context and all that. This is a protected application context. I just want to run test case that this is not null, and in all other places like in my service, I will just, if you want, you can use your application context, or like I just auto wire my service. Create an employee with test employee and save it in the database. And again, I retrieve it with the same name, and I do some asserts that this return employee list should not be null, or basically it should have a size 1. So let's quickly run that test case. All right, luckily it is in green, so which means it has taken this employee name, saved it in the database, and once it retrieves it, it finds that that employee is there, and that employee list is not null, its size is positive, however, its size is precisely equals to 1. All right, so I hope this will come very handy, and whenever you have to work on any POCs for a web application or a Spring Boot itself, probably in a couple of minutes you will have everything handy, starting from your controller to service to entity and connecting your local database. Thank you.